What's up, everybody? It's Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review Extreme Rules 2021. Of course, Extreme Rules happened this past Sunday in Columbus, Ohio, and there's a lot to go over in this show. First off, this is one of those shows that honestly nobody even realized that the show was on Sunday, and honestly, this is one of those shows that I really didn't give a shit about. Like, honestly, I was this close to thinking to not review this show, but after what happened on Raw, and yes, I will be uploading my Raw review immediately after uploading this review. There's a lot of crazy shit going on, and some of them were bad, some of them were good, but I thought Extreme Rules was an okay show. Now, calling this pay-per-view Extreme Rules is kind of, weird, because there was only one Extreme Rules match on this pay-per-view. There was only one Extreme Rules match. Not only that, I mean, you're basically having regular rules on this show. Like, this show is called Extreme Rules, and basically it's regular rules because there's only one Extreme Rules match. Almost the entire card was just normal matches, and the only Extreme Rules match was the main event. Now, does that mean that the show was good? Look, the show, in my opinion, was not bad, and this is kind of a thing with WWE pay-per-views. Most of their pay-per-views, now granted their weekly shows are not that great every week, but their pay-per-views, the majority of them, the in-ring work, especially on the pay-per-views, is not bad at all. But there's some pay-per-views like SummerSlam that was really kind of a disappointment if you really look at it in retrospect. But Extreme Rules, I thought, was a pretty good show. It's not really the best show in the world, but it was not, like, terrible. There's a lot of problems with this show. I mean, like, the finish of the Finn Balor and Roman Reigns match. I mean, you can't just do that. You know what I mean? Like, the finish for Roman Reigns and Finn Balor was just a little weird. And the whole supernatural thing where the demon's just getting up on his own, like, I thought was, I don't know, man. I was kind of iffy on that. I was like, wait, what the hell is going on here? He's just coming back alive like that out of nowhere. I mean, I don't know. I could have booked a better finish for that, in my opinion. And having Finn Balor lose due to a freaking the rope breaking, or the turnbuckle, like, just breaking off the ring post. I mean, like, I don't know who came up with that. I thought, the whole match itself was really good. Finn Balor and Roman Reigns absolutely tore the house down. I'm just saying the finish was just pretty, really stupid. I could have booked a better finish, and I would have just had, like, a normal finish and have Roman go over. Because at the end of the day, Roman was gonna go over whether you would like it or not, because it made the perfect sense. Now, I've stated earlier that, Finn Balor should be the WrestleMania main event next year, but clearly that's not going to happen, considering the fact that we've seen them wrestle twice already. So, that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So yeah, we're going to be going over Extreme Rules on this review, and the first match we're going to be going over is the New Day versus AJ Styles, Omos, and the former champ Bobby Lashley. I did not cover this match in the predictions video because it was announced, I believe, the day of the show, in which I was kind of like, all right, you announce a match with your top champion on the Raw brand the day of the show. I mean, there was no WWE title match on this show because Biggie was in that 6-man tag. But we had the New Day versus AJ Omos and Bobby Lashley. The match was not bad. The match was not bad at all. This match ended with Lashley getting the pin by Big E. Couple notes on the match. We get a belly-to-belly suplex on Styles by Big E. We get a splash by Big E. Styles fights back. He hits his traditional phenomenal blitz. Then Big E plants Styles to the mat. He takes Styles to the top. Styles escapes, and then he counters Big E from spearing him. But, Kingston tags in after that. We get the double knees from Kingston off of the top rope. Then we get a cover, and Lashley makes the save. Lashley planks Kingston to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Lashley is about to spear Big E. Styles gets sent up and over. Big E sends Kingston over the top, but Omos takes him out, which was a crazy spot, by the way. Then Lashley face plants Big E to the mat. Styles tags himself in. Lashley makes the tag, and by accident, Lashley spears AJ Styles, which results into a big ending by Biggie on Bobby Lashley. We get a cover, 1, 2, 3, and the New Day defeat AJ Styles, Omos, and Bobby Lashley for the win. Again, this was a match that was thrown really last minute. You know, it kind of sucks considering the fact that Biggie is the WWE champion, and, you know, we didn't get a match with Biggie during the pay-per-view, but, I mean, I don't know, man. But, you know, what happened on Raw, now, he later on after, and I'm going to be talking about this later on, he did state the next night on Raw, which already happened, by the way. I'm filming this a couple days after Raw. I'm filming this on a Wednesday. And he basically, you know, they had a WWE title rematch on Raw that opened the show, which resulted into some fiasco happening, and that led to a freaking steel cage match. Now, I'm going to be explaining more of this and going a little more in depth on the Raw review, but I thought that was a really dumb decision. If they really wanted to go with the steel cage route, then they could have just announced that match like right at the pay-per-view. Instead, they had a one-on-one match, and then that match ended in a fiasco. And then at the main event, you had to wait till the end of the show, even though they advertised we got Bobby Lashley versus Biggie for the WWE Championship, opening the show in a normal match, and then all of a sudden you advertise after the match ends. I believe it was in a DQ. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have my notes with me. That match ends in a fiasco, and then you have to wait till the end of the show for a steel cage match between the same two wrestlers. I mean, you know, you could have easily announced a steel cage match to start off the show, in my opinion. But, you know, WWE did not go that route. Now, the match itself was really good. I'm going to be honest. The match itself was really good. And this has been, this week's Raw, the in-ring work was really good. Like, booking-wise, the show is bad, but in-ring-wise, the show is good. There's a clear difference. In-ring-wise, the show is good. Booking-wise, the show is bad. Hear me out, okay? Because then I'm going to anger a lot of people on social media. Booking-wise, the show is terrible. Wrestling-wise, in-ring-wise, the show is good. Now, that's Raw. I'm going to be talking more of that on my Raw review, because I really want to go in depth on really what happened on Raw. And, you know, WWE is making a lot of reactionary moves. And you know what? Hey, if they're going to do this, if they're going to be doing this type of stuff every week, you know, yes, they got one pay-per-view every month, but you know what? Count me in, because at least they're giving me some sort of a reason to watch the show, because Raw has been such a bad show for these past few years, in my opinion. But the next match of the evening is the Usos versus the Street Profits for the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. What are my thoughts on this match? This was a really, really good match. The Usos and the Street Profits, I've stated this in my predictions video, know how to work a good match. And not only that, you know, they always put out the best work. They just put out the best work, and they're just phenomenal wrestlers, in my opinion. The Usos looked great. The Street Profits looked really good. The double team attempts on each other team, you know, just awesome. The match was great. There was a lot of great matches on this show too. Like, the in-ring work on this show is really good. Like that triple threat match with Sheamus, Damien Priest, and who else was it in that triple threat match? I completely forgot, bro. That's how uninteresting the show was. Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy was added last minute, and I completely forgot about that. How stupid am I? But that triple threat match was really good. You know, how the fuck do I forget that Jeff Hardy was not even in that triple threat match, bro? It's because of the fact that he was added last minute in the fucking match. He was added last minute in the match, and I'm immediately focused on Damien Priest and Sheamus, and yet we got a rematch by the two the next night on Raw. That was a bad decision on WWE's part, and I'll go about that later on. But we got the Usos versus the Street Profits, and this was a really, really good match. I really enjoyed the match. There's a lot of counters after counters in this match, so I'm going to go over it. So Jimmy and Dawkins start, both lock up. We get a shoulder tackle by Angelo Dawkins, both lock up again. Then we get a side headlock by Jimmy Uso. Dawkins hits a drop kick and then hits a right hand. We get a cover by Dawkins, and then we get a near fall. Then Jey Uso tags in. Ford tags in. We get a drop kick by Ford. Then a drop kick by Dawkins. Both double clothesline Jey on. the outside. Ford takes Jay to the inside. We get a kick by Ford. Then we get a shot to the back of Jay. Then we get a takedown by Ford. We get repeated rights by Ford. Jimmy tags in. Ford runs into a kick to the injured ribs of Ford. So Ford is selling the injury that he has during the match. We get repeated stomps on Ford. Ford is on the outside, and then he gets taken to the apron. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Then we get a double front suplex on top of the top rope on Ford by both Jimmy and Jay. We get a backdrop by Jay on Ford onto the outside, which looked nasty in my opinion. We get a waistlock by Jay. Ford tries to break out and make the tag. We get a right forearm by Ford. Then he almost tries to make the tag. We get a right hand by Ford again, but then Jay hits Ford with a right. Ford counters the backdrop after that. Jay gets sent to the top of the ring post. Then the hot tag is made so both Dawkins and Jimmy tag in. Dawkins with a corkscrew elbow on Jimmy. Then he plants Jay to the mat. Works on both of the Usos. We get a running bulldog by Dawkins on Jay. We get a kick by Jimmy. Jimmy gets caught with a suicide dive, or Excalibur would like to say Tumpe Suicida. Then Dawkins hits a follow-away slam on the outside on Jimmy. Jay runs into a right hand, and then Dawkins sends Jay to the outside. Then we get a right hand by Jimmy. Then Jimmy goes to the top. We get a right hand by Dawkins. Then Dawkins also goes to the top. Then Dawkins hits a superplex after that. Then Dawkins then tries to hit after that, he doesn't try, but he does. He successfully hits the twisting neck breaker after he hits the superplex after that. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Ford tags in, and then we get a double team attempt by Ford on Dawkins. By Ford and Dawkins, my apologies. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Dawkins tags in, and then Jay tags in. We get a double team attempt by the Usos once again. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Jay hits a right hand. Then he hits a hip attack in the corner. Then he misses the second hip attack after that. Ford tags in. Ford then hits a beautiful frog splash. It's not a crossbody, it's a frog splash. WWE loves mixing that up, especially when you hear it on SmackDown. You constantly hear either Michael Cole be like, oh my god, it was a crossbody, or on Raw, no, it's a crossbody. Like when Kofi Kingston does a freaking crossbody, it's not even a frog, it's not even a crossbody, it's a frog splash. It looks exactly like a whole frog splash. And the commentators are saying crossbody. No, it's a frog splash. Then we get a cover and a near fall, whatever. Then we get a roll up and a near fall after that. Then we get a double super kick by both the Street Profits. Then Ford goes to the top. Then we get a super kick by Jay on Dawkins. Then Jimmy hits an Uso splash. We get a cover and a near fall after that. So this is where the near falls start kicking in. Both Usos get sent over the top rope. Both send Dawkins to the barricade. Ford with a somersault over the post on both Usos. Then Ford goes to the top. Then hits a frog splash on Jay. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Jimmy tags in. Then we get a double super kick by the Usos on Dawkins. Then we get a roll up by Ford. We get a cover and a near fall. And then we get a kick to the ribs of Ford by Jimmy Uso. Jay tags in. We get a double super kick by the Usos on I believe it was on Ford. I believe it was, yeah. My words got mixed up again. Dude, there's so many spots going on during this match to the point where you literally mix up your words and your keyboard just fucks you up. Like that always happens all the time, man. Then Jimmy tags in. Both Usos go to the top, and then we get a double Uso splash after that. We get a cover, and the Usos retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Again, really good match. My only issue with this match is that, again, the majority of the card was just singles, like just normal matches, not even an Extreme Rules match. You could have easily made this match a fucking tornado tag match. Like literally, you could have had this be a tornado tag match, no DQ match, whatever, man. Like literally, why aren't they doing this? The pay-per-view is called Extreme Rules, and you only have one Extreme Rules match on the show. And that was like they added the whole Extreme Rules stipulation like a week before the actual pay-per-view even happened. Like, this makes no sense. But the match was good. The match was really, really good in my opinion. The match, Dawkins and the Usos, and Dawkins and Ford and the Usos, my apologies, absolutely killed it. The Usos retained the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and I do not see the Usos losing that titles for a very long time. Maybe they'll drop the belts. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, the Royal Rumble. I just don't see him for the rest of the year dropping those titles. Roman Reigns, you know damn well for a fact Roman Reigns ain't dropping that Universal title. Like there's no way in hell he's not dropping that title. Bobby Lashley in a backstage segment, he rants on Biggie. Of course, he just goes at it verbally on Biggie in that backstage segment. He calls him a chicken shit, and he challenges him to a match the next night on Raw, in which we all know what happened. I stated earlier, the match ended. I believe it was in a DQ. I got to check my notes again, but the match ended to bullshit. I do assume it was a DQ. Yes, it was definitely a DQ. And what happened? They announced a fucking steel cage match. They could have done that. They could have advertised that shit. They should have advertised a whole steel cage match. Instead, no, we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a singles match, and we're just gonna have that match end in bullshit, and then have a steel cage match. Nothing wrong against a steel cage match. My problem is the fact that they should have advertised that shit, but they didn't. They only did they only advertised the singles match. They didn't advertise the steel cage match because it was announced during the show, and that's a common habit that WWE has. They announce shit during the show. Like, bruh, you have to announce shit. If you're gonna work on a surprise, do that shit storyline wise. But to me, this wasn't in connection to any storyline whatsoever. This was just ridiculous booking. Bruh, we have a match between Biggie and Bobby Lashley that ends in some bullshit, and you constantly see this all the time with any particular feud happening in WWE. You constantly see that all the time, bro. You see it all the time when there's a singles match happening, and then all of a sudden you have extra wrestlers come in and then, attack the wrestlers that were wrestling in that match that they had, and then you go to commercial break, and then you have a fucking 6-man tag. Bro, it's the same shit. That shit always happens all the time on WWE programming, and it needs to stop, bro. It's ridiculous booking, and it's lazy booking, in my opinion. I'm not saying the match was bad, though. The steel cage match that Biggie and Bobby Lashley had was fucking awesome. I fucking loved that match. If we're going to be getting matches like this every week on Raw, count me in. And people say, oh, they should put it on pay-per-view and all that stuff. Look, I'm going to be going a little more in depth and talking about why WWE should ditch the B-level pay-per-views, because quite frankly, they don't mean jack shit, and bring back, I don't know, a Saturday night's main event. AEW is doing quarterly specials on TNT next year. Why can't WWE do Saturday night's main event on NBC? They have a TV deal with NBC Universal, so why not? And no, it shouldn't be on Fox, considering the fact that Saturday night's main event was always an NBC show. But still, you can do specials on Fox as well. You got the Fox deal. Why can't you do shit like that? I don't know. But I'm just saying, I'm going to be going a little more in depth on my Raw review and just talking about what WWE should do if we're going to be getting matches like this every week. I defend AEW. I defend AEW for doing matches like this on Dynamite because of the fact they only have 4 pay-per-views a year. And that formula of 4 pay-per-views a year is actually good for them because, it makes the pay-per-views more important. This pay-per-view, I'm going to be honest, was not important because, quite frankly, nobody gave a shit about it. This is one of those shows that nobody gave a shit about. The matches were great. I'm just saying nobody gave a shit about it because, quite frankly, nobody even realized that the pay-per-view was going to be on that Sunday, and there's barely any build for the pay-per-view. The main event with Roman Reigns and Finn Balor, I mean, the build was not that great in my opinion. It was kind of yes, you could take it back before SummerSlam, but let's be straight up. On the road to this particular pay-per-view, really the focus with Roman Reigns is Brock Lesnar. That's it. That's the main focus when it comes to Roman Reigns right now, not Finn Balor. So, yeah. So the next match of the evening is Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. This match was not bad either, I will admit. This match was not a bad match at all. And quite frankly, as much as I'm not a fan of the whole Alexa Bliss thing, and I do believe, that is definitely Bray Wyatt's gimmick, it's not Alexa Bliss's fault by any means. You should not blame Alexa Bliss whatsoever. Blame management for that. That is strictly management's fault. But I will admit, I loved that segment that Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss had last Monday night on Raw, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, or last week. Not this past Monday, last Monday on Raw. That was a really good segment. Both went at it extremely verbally. They went fucking crazy when it came to that shit. But The match was great. I really enjoyed the match. And you know what? I will admit, throughout the entire build for this particular match, the crowd reactions were not bad, especially for Alexa Bliss. They were not that bad. You can say that they were editing crowd chants, but they do that for everybody. And I don't think they were doing that there because you can clearly see the crowd reacting for Alexa Bliss. Even though you may not be a fan of it, hey, at least there is a crowd reaction there. But, yeah. So Bliss is over with the crowd during this match. Like, she is extremely over in Columbus, Ohio. So Charlotte is pissed off. Like, she gets pissed during, like, the whole beginning stages of the match. Both lock up. Charlotte takes Bliss down. We get a Hurricane Rana and a dropkick by Alexa Bliss. We get a kick to the knee of Charlotte, and then we get a cannonball by Alexa Bliss. Bliss gets back in the ring. Bliss does her typical mind games, of course, with Lily or Charlie. I think that's the new doll's name, right? So she does her freaking mind games, and then Charlotte slams her and takes Bliss headfirst repeatedly to the corner, I believe. Yeah, to the corner. And then Charlotte is in control during the match. We get a couple of chops by Charlotte. Charlotte then hits a backbreaker. We get a cover and a near fall. Charlotte continues to work on Bliss, and then we get a jawbreaker by Bliss after that. We get a kick to the midsection on Bliss, and then we get a double underhook by Charlotte. Bliss then gets back up on the shoulders of Charlotte. Then she hits a Hurricane Rana, landing on the bottom turnbuckle head first. Then we get a backbreaker by Charlotte. Charlotte goes to the top, but Bliss takes her down. We get a drop kick by Bliss. Charlotte catches Bliss to the outside and takes her to the barricade. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a cover again by Charlotte and then a near fall. We get a cover again by Charlotte and a near fall. So she could be going for repeated pin attempts by this point. We get an inside cradle by Bliss. We get a near fall. Charlotte then hits a right hand. Then we get a stomp by Charlotte on Bliss. Then after that, Charlotte goes to the top, then misses the first moonsault and hits a standing moonsault. So she basically pulls an Andrade during this fucking match. Charlotte pulled a whole Andrade. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Then Charlotte tries to go for the natural selection, but Bliss counters. We get a right hand by Bliss, and then we get a roll-up by Bliss and a near fall. We get a cover by Charlotte, and then we get a powerbomb by Charlotte. Then we get a cover and a near fall again. Then Charlotte misses a moonsault when Bliss hits her with a kick. Then Bliss counters with a code red, and yes, I'm going to call that a code red. There's so many different... Bruh. The Canadian Destroyer has so many fucking different names. They got Code Red, the Panama Sunrise, and the Canadian Destroyer, bro. I'm going to be calling it the Code Red because that's exactly what it was. It was a fucking Code Red. Okay? It was a Code Red. So she hits the Code Red. We get a cover and a near fall. Alexa goes to the top. We get a couple of stomps by Bliss. Goes back to the top. Bliss misses the Twisted Bliss from the top. Then Charlotte tries to go for the figure four, but Bliss counters into an inside cradle. Then Bliss hits a DDT. We get a cover and another near fall. Charlotte then grabs the doll, throws the doll down, and hits a big boot. That was actually a dope-ass spot, I'm not going to lie. Say what you want about Charlotte, but that was actually a pretty badass spot. So she sends Bliss to the corner post. Then Charlotte finally hits the natural selection. We get a cover, and Charlotte retains the title. Overall thoughts on this match, I thought this was a pretty good match. It was not a bad match at all. The build for this match was probably, the only, I don't want to say the only, because like the only match that everybody was looking forward to was Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. But I mean, this match throughout the build, if there was any build whatsoever, this match had more build than any other match on the card, in my opinion. Had a genuine crowd reaction in Alexa Bliss's favor. And this match was not bad at all. I actually enjoyed the match. The match was not bad at all. I pretty much, had a good time watching this match. And then we see the crazy shit happen after the match. So after the match, Charlotte rips the doll in half. Bliss tries to fight back. We get repeated rights and lefts by Bliss. Then Charlotte throws her through the announce table. Bliss then gets back up, goes to the ring, and cries about Lily and tries to put her back together and leaves extremely sad. So where is this going to be going with Alexa Bliss? Apparently she's taking time off, so we're not going to be seeing Alexa Bliss for for a couple weeks or months. I don't know. I got to read the report again. But she's going to be taking time off, and it's probably this whole Raw the Raw Women's title picture is going to be strictly based on Charlotte from now on for maybe the next couple of weeks. But who knows who's going to be the next number one contender? Honestly, who knows? We don't know who's going to be the next challenger for Charlotte. Honestly, there's a lot of things happening with the draft, and the draft. The draft had barely any build, and that was the problem, and we're probably going to be getting some answers with the draft, considering the fact that you're going to have a lot of people getting drafted back and forth from Raw to SmackDown. But, that was Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte. Overall thoughts, it was a really good match. The match was worked really well. The crowd was definitely in Alexa Bliss's favor. And, that was the match. We get Paul Heyman backstage. He's on the phone talking about the draft again. He's talking about the draft, but honestly, the draft has barely any hype or build at all. It's just something that's just going to be there and just happen. That's one of the problems with the brand split. There's no focus on the brand split. And honestly, you really have to ask yourself, what is the point of a brand split if you're really not going to give a shit about the draft? Like, there's barely any emphasis on the draft at all. That's the problem. But, hey, we have to see what happens. We have to see what happens. So, we got Paul Heyman backstage. Kayla Braxton, and this was a common occurrence on SmackDown. Kayla Braxton interrupts. He thinks it's Brock Lesnar. And then all of a sudden he continues to go on a rant and it's like, oh, what if it is Brock Lesnar? What if it is somebody else? Blah, blah, blah. The Usos come in, of course, and they celebrate with their tag team titles at hand, and Paul Heyman leaves. We got another good match that happened on this show. We got Damien Priest versus Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy. Yes, Jeff Hardy was added in this match, and I completely fucking forgot as soon as I started this review. But yes, Jeff Hardy was added in this match at the Go Home Raw before Extreme Rules, which, I don't know why they needed to add Jeff Hardy, but like we ended up getting a rematch between Damien Priest and Sheamus, which was a no DQ match, which was actually a really good match on Raw. Again, Raw this past Monday was in ring wise and the match quality wise, the matches were not bad at all. In fact, they were actually really good matches. But booking wise, I thought the show still kind of lacked, in my opinion. But we got Sheamus versus Damien Priest versus Jeff Hardy for the U.S. Heavyweight title. And yes, I'm going to be calling it like that because that's what it is. The U.S. Heavyweight title, as Tony Schiavone would state back in the WCW days. So the match starts. We get a boot by Sheamus on Jeff Hardy. Then we get a couple of right forearms by Priest. He takes Sheamus to the corner. And then we get a couple of kicks by Priest. Priest then takes Sheamus to the outside, sends him to the barricade. We get a couple of right forearms by Priest on the outside. Priest continues to work on Sheamus on the outside. Sheamus then fights back. He wants me gold. That's what Sheamus be wanting. He wants me gold. Then Hardy out of nowhere takes out Priest. Sheamus then sends Hardy to the corner. Hardy is on the apron. Hardy then flattens Sheamus on the outside. Then both fight it out. Then out of nowhere, Priest hits a somersault on both, which looked badass. Priest is fucking amazing. Then we get a kick on Sheamus. Everybody is back in the ring. Then Priest is in control on both Hardy and Sheamus. Then Priest hits the Falcon Arrow on Hardy. Sheamus then takes Priest to the outside. Both exchange shots. Priest picks up, Sheamus picks up Priest and sends Priest to the ring post. Then we get a backbreaker by Sheamus onto the ring on Hardy. Then we get a couple of stomps by Sheamus, and then we get one clothesline by Sheamus on Hardy after that. Priest tries to get back in the ring. Then we get a knee by Sheamus on Priest. Hardy proceeds to fight back, and then we get a kick by Hardy, and then we get a slam by Sheamus on Hardy after that. We get a shot to the back of Priest by Sheamus. Then we get a couple of shots to the chest of Priest. Then after that, Priest fights back. We get a kick by Priest. Then Priest hits multiple shots to the chest to his chest of Sheamus, so he reverses it. So Hardy out of nowhere then hits a shotgun dropkick on Sheamus after that. He takes down Sheamus, and then Hardy hits an atomic drop. We get a basement dropkick by Hardy. Hardy tries to go for the splash, but Sheamus gets the knees up. We get a cover and a near fall. Hardy then hits a Russian leg sweep after that. Then we get a cover roll-up and a near fall when Priest comes in for the save. Hardy then goes to the top. He takes both Priest and Sheamus out. We get a drop kick by Hardy into the corner on on Sheamus. Then Sheamus counters with a boot. Then Sheamus then hits the Alabama Slam on Hardy. We get a cover and a near fall. Sheamus applies the cloverleaf on Jeff after that. Hardy then gets his hand on the rope, but there is no rope break in the triple threat match. Then Priest comes in and attacks the injured nose of Sheamus. Then we get a kick by Priest on Sheamus. Then Sheamus hits the white noise. We get a cover and a near fall when Hardy interferes. Then Hardy after that out of nowhere hits the twist of fate. Hardy then counters the reckoning and finally hits the twist of fate. Then we get then Hardy goes to the top. Then Sheamus throws Hardy out. Sheamus goes to the top. Then when Sheamus is on the top, you know what this dude does, bro? He mocks Jeff Hardy, bro. He mocks Jeff Hardy. Like, that was the funniest thing ever, bro. I laughed my ass off. So he mocks Jeff Hardy. We get a flying knee by Sheamus on Priest. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Sheamus then misses the bro kick. We get a double boot on Priest in the corner. Then Sheamus is on the top. Then Priest takes Sheamus down. We get a cover by Priest, but Hardy hits the Swanton bomb. Then both Priest and Hardy exchange shots. Hardy gets the advantage. Then Hardy misses the twist of fate. Then Priest hits a kick. Priest jumps into the bro kick. Then Hardy then takes out Sheamus. We get a near fall after near fall by Jeff Hardy. Then Sheamus hits the bro kick on Hardy, but then we get a roll-up by Priest, and Priest retains the U.S. title. What are my thoughts on this match? This was a really, 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 really good triple threat match on Extreme Rules. Again, my only gripe is the fact that this was not an Extreme Rules match. That is the problem. Like, I don't know why, but like, come on, this would have been so much better if it was an Extreme Rules match. Keep in mind, Raw had more Extreme Rules matches the next night than this whole pay-per-view. Like, we had a steel cage match and a no DQ match. Like, bruh. Like, really, bro? You had more extreme style. I don't even want to call it extreme because they're not even using blood, but like, you know, you had more of those types of matches on Raw than on Extreme Rules. Like, that is insane. But hey, you know, WWE don't give a damn about Extreme Rules. Quite frankly, it's regular rules, as Ringside News would state. So we got Biggie backstage cutting a promo on Lashley. He basically accepts the challenge for the next night, and he says, "Your ass better be ready." So we got Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Overall thoughts on this match. You know, the match was not bad. The match was pretty good. You know, the heel run for Becky Lynch, I've stated earlier, and I will continue to state, I'll give it time. You know, it's something new, but, you know, I don't think there was any reason, in my opinion, for Becky to turn heel. But, hey, it is what it is. But, you know, the match was not bad. You know, the finish, yes, the finish ended in a DQ. And we did see the return of Sasha Banks finally. So we got Sasha Banks returning and attacking both Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. That was awesome to see. We're definitely going to be getting Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks in the near future. When, I do not know. But we're going to have to wait and see. But the match starts. Becky tries to shake the hand of Bianca. Becky tries to go for a right hand, but then almost gets caught with the manhandle slam. So shades of SummerSlam, as Michael Cole would state. Then we get an elbow by Bianca. Then she almost goes for the KOD, but Becky's on the outside. We get a side headlock by Bianca after that. Then we get a shoulder tackle by Bianca. Becky takes Bianca down from doing a leapfrog. Then we get a roll-up by Bianca. Becky then is in control later on. Bianca sends Becky to the corner. We get a slam by Bianca and then a splash by Bianca. We get a cover and a near fall. Bianca then sends Becky to each corner. We get repeated rights by Becky. Bianca then hits a drop kick. Becky's on the outside. Bianca then takes Becky to the outside, then takes Becky back in the ring. Becky pulls the hair of Bianca's hair, so this is going to be a common occurrence during this match. Then takes out Bianca. Then we get a cover and a near fall. We get a kick by Becky, and then we get repeated kicks by Becky. Becky at this point is in control. We get a sliding knee drop by Becky Lynch. We get an elbow drop by Becky. Then Becky fails. No, she falls to the mat. My bad. Then Bianca regains control, but then Becky uses the hair of Bianca once again and takes her down to the mat. Then Becky works on Bianca once again. Then Becky with a couple of kicks. then throws Bianca across. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Belair later on powers out of Becky's submission attempt and suplexes her after that. Then we get an elbow by Belair. We get a shoulder tackle by Bianca, and then a drop kick by Bianca. Then Bianca hits a northern-like suplex after that, and then hits a vertical suplex on Becky Lynch. Then we get repeated rights by Bianca. Becky pulls the ponytail of Bianca after that. Bianca hits a spine buster. We get a cover into a near fall. Then we get a crossbody by Becky on Bianca, but Bianca catches her with a slam. Then we get a cover into near fall when Becky gets her foot on the rope. We get a kick by Becky. Becky is on the top. And then Bianca tries to go after that, but Bianca picks up Becky. Becky escapes. We get a roll-up by Becky after that. We get a 1 count. Then Becky applies the disarmed submission. Then Bianca gets her foot on the bottom rope. Becky pulls the ponytail once again during this match. Bianca fights back. Then both are on the outside. Becky then counters the glam slam attempt and then sends Becky to the steel steps. Goes to the top rope, and then we get a leg drop from the top by Becky Lynch. We get a cover into a near fall. Becky then with another leg drop across the back of the neck of Bianca Belair. Then Bianca counters the manhandle slam. We get a couple of roll-up attempts. Then Becky applies the disarmed. Then we get a roll-up by Becky and a near fall. Then Becky once again applies the disarmed. Then we get a roll-up by Bel-Air. We get a near fall. Then Bianca takes down Becky with a spine buster. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a right hand by Bel-Air. Both exchange shots. Bianca fights back. We get a roll-up by Bel-Air and a near fall. Then we get a roll-up by Becky. We get a near fall. Then we get a roll-up by Bel-Air again and a near fall. So we got a bunch of near falls after near falls during this match. Then we get a disarmed by Becky. Bianca then picks up Becky. But then what happens? Sasha Banks makes the return, as I stated earlier, attacks Bianca Belair, causes a DQ finish. So Bianca retains the Smackdown Women's Championship, but Sasha Banks just goes after Bianca Belair, hits the backstabber on Bianca, and then after that, Becky's like, but then all of a sudden what happens? Sasha goes after Becky, and she hits the backstabber on Becky as well. What are my thoughts on Sasha Banks returning? This was a really good match, but, the match did end in a DQ, and, this is a common occurrence when it comes to WWE matches, especially on television. But I will admit, Sasha Banks returns about damn time. We finally get to see the rematch with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, because we were supposed to get that at SummerSlam, but something happened, and, we got the shit that we did with Becky Lynch beating her in like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? But I will admit this was not a bad match at all. This was not a bad match at all. Both worked a really good match, but this is definitely gonna have Sasha Banks eventually face Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Championship. But then at the same time, she's putting her focus on Bianca Belair as well, because she is the one that caused. Time out. I did state earlier that Bianca Belair retained the SmackDown Women's Champion. I just realized that. I was just thinking back to the words I stated. No, Bianca Belair does not retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. No, it's Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. My apologies. Literally, my head is just playing games with me right now. While I was speaking, I literally was thinking back to what I've stated with her, and I was like, did I state that Bianca Belair was the SmackDown Women's Champion? No, it's Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. My apologies. But, we're going to be getting a rematch eventually with Bianca Belair, but at this point, Bianca is not the champion. Becky is the champion, but, Sasha Banks, I do assume that Sasha Banks is in the title picture, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. I really want to see a rematch with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, but we don't know when that's going to happen, considering the fact that Becky Lynch is the champion at this point. So is that a scenario in which Becky eventually drops the belt? I do not know, but we'll have to wait and see. So Sasha Banks finally makes her long-awaited return. So we got the main event of the evening. We got Roman Reigns versus the Demon, or the Demon King, I should say, Finn Balor, in an Extreme Rules match. So again, this is the only Extreme Rules match on the card, and the pay-per-view is called Extreme Rules. I thought this was the only night that WWE goes extreme, yet you only got one Extreme Rules match on the card. The matches that were on Raw the next night were more extreme than this whole pay-per-view combined. Like, seriously. Like, why are you calling the... Again, get rid of these gimmick pay-per-views. Like, Hell in a Cell shouldn't be its own pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber shouldn't be its own pay-per-view. TLC shouldn't be its own pay-per-view. Extreme Rules should not be its own pay-per-view. I do not understand why they do this type of stuff, but hey, it's WWE for you. They really do not understand what the hell they're doing. It's basically causing overexposure and making every match a freaking gimmick, which I don't see that. You know, a Hell in a Cell match should not be its own pay-per-view. It should be a blow-off, you know, for a particular feud, in my opinion. But, hey, that's that. I will be going a little more in-depth on the Raw review, talking about why WWE should get rid of the B-level pay-per-views. Because, you know, if we're going to be getting matches like this every week, you know, you're going to have people complain, and rightfully so, in a way, saying, you know, oh, this match should be on pay-per-view. But keep in mind, WWE does not really give a shit about their B-level pay-per-view. So, like, what the hell is the point? You know what I mean? Put that on television and only focus on the big four pay-per-views. Focus on the big four, or have bring back Saturday Night's Main Event or something, or some sort of special. You know, bring back, you know, AEW. Again, AEW's doing quarterly shows. Why not WWE do quarterly shows? But we're going to have to wait and see. But what are my thoughts on Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns? You know, Finn Balor and Roman Reigns, of course, these guys are definitely familiar with each other for years. I mean, my God, they just wrestled a couple of weeks ago on Smackdown, and, you know, that was a good-ass match. That match was so good to the point where I literally thought that Finn Balor was actually going to win the match. I actually thought Finn Balor was, like, legitimately winning the Universal Championship that night, but, of course, that did not happen. But what are my thoughts on this particular match that they had? I thought the match was really good. The finish, you know, I'm kind of iffy on the finish. The finish was kind of stupid. You know, it was really kind of stupid. If you really look at it, it was kind of dumb. The match was great. The match was fucking, and I even tweeted that out. The match was awesome. It was freaking, both tore the house down. I'm just saying the finish was just kind of weird. Like, I don't want to say it was, like, the worst thing ever. Like, I don't want to compare this to Hell in a Cell 2 years ago. Because Hell in a Cell 2 years ago with Seth Rollins and The Fiend was absolutely horrible. Like, that was a stupid finish. Like, how do you have a disqualification inside a Hell in a Cell match? Like, it's one of the dumbest things ever. A disqualification in a Hell in a Cell match, that's like saying you're going to have a disqualification in an ODQ match. Like, you know, WWE loves to break their own rules, and it's ridiculous, but hey, it is what it is. But, you know, we got Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, and, you know, I think I know who was the one that broke the rope. I think I know who. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was John Cena. It was clearly John Cena that cost Finn Balor the match, you know? It was clearly John Cena that broke the rope. I mean, bro, I couldn't see anybody, so it was John Cena. I'm kidding, guys. It was not John Cena. But both lock up, both exchange shots. We get a kick by Balor, and then we get a right hand by Reigns. Reigns then hits a Samoan drop. Reigns then hits a suplex. We get a cover into a near fall. Reigns grabs the kendo stick. But then Balor grabs kendo sticks. 4 sticks, I'm mad at. 4 sticks, like, literally just taped together. It was kind of like Nick Gage bringing out, like, 4 freaking light tubes, like, tied together. Like, that was the craziest shit ever. Then we get a knee by Balor from the apron. Balor grabs a table, but Reigns takes him out on the outside. Reigns grabs a chair. We get repeated chair shots. Balor then hits a stomp on the chair on the top of Reigns. Balor then sends Reigns to the steps, but then he gets sent to the barricade. Reigns is in control. Both are in the crowd. Both then kick off the table. Then Balor fights back to the top of the table. Balor hits a crossbody on Reigns through the table. Then Balor takes Reigns back in the ring. Oh, yeah, by the way, while they were wrestling in the crowd, Reigns was wearing a mask. That was the funniest shit ever. We get a rock bottom by Reigns. Yes, I'm going to call that the rock bottom because that looked exactly like a whole rock bottom. Then on Balor through the table. Reigns misses a Superman punch. Balor fights back. We get a right hand by Reigns. Reigns hits a Superman punch. Balor then hits the sling blade. Runs into a spear. We get a cover into a near fall. And then we get a low blow and a kick out by Balor. Balor at this point is in control. Balor hits a somersault. Balor then hits the coup de grace. The Usos trying to interfere, but then they put Balor through the table. Jay hits, we get a sling blade on Jay, so Jay gets hit with the sling blade. But then we get a spear by Roman through the barricade. Balor somehow, and this was kind of the weird thing, Balor stands up like in some supernatural way. He's like what kind of shit is that? Like, no, I don't want that. No, have him sell the freaking move. Have him sell the freaking move and just, not do that type of stuff. But, have him not do that. We get repeated chair shots on Reigns. Then we get a drop kick on Reigns through a table. Balor tries to go for the coup de grace, but then the rope snaps. Again, it was fucking John Cena. You couldn't see shit. So then we get a spear by Reigns. We get a cover, 1, 2, 3, and Roman Reigns wins the match. Overall thoughts is this match was pretty good. I just hated the finish. The finish was just really dumb, and, it kind of made Finn lose. My apologies for that. He kind of made him lose into some dumbass fashion, but the match was not bad. I thought the match was pretty good, and, it could have been way worse, but I don't know what to say. I see a lot of mixed reactions when it comes to the finish, but honestly, we're going to have to see what happens on SmackDown. But that was Extreme Rules, and that was Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. Not a bad match. I just thought the finish was pretty weird. But that was Extreme Rules from Columbus, Ohio. I thought the pay-per-view was overall not bad. My only gripe with it was the fact that it's called Extreme Rules and there was barely any Extreme Rules matches. But hey, that was Extreme Rules. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And be on the lookout also for my Raw review. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast with my Extreme Rules pay-per-view review. Signing out.